There you go.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the ANC Podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Campbell. And in the house today, we have ECW Original, Mr. Chili Willie.
Yo, what's happening, everyone? What's going down?
And our special guest today, he is none other than NWA Powers, Mr. Kyle Davis.
Yeah. What? Hello.
Didn't hear anything during that. Can we all hear there now?
We good?
Yeah, we good.
All right. There we go.
I'm good. We hear you now.
Perfect. Technical difficulties.
All right, Kyle. How you doing, man?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm here for you. Throw out the questions, whatever you want. I'm an open book. I've got answers, hopefully.
Awesome, man. Dude, the people want to know.
We're glad to have you on, man. We're glad to have you on.
Yes, dude. The people want to know, how did you get involved with professional wrestling?
Like everybody else, I was a fan. Well, not like everybody else. Sometimes you're a football player that life falls apart and just decide, hey, that's funny. But for me, I was a fan. I was growing up in Connecticut, grew up on WWE, and then ECW when I got a little bit older. And eventually, I went to an ROH show. I was there chillaxing, and I saw a little flyer on the table that was for the ROH Academy where Brian Danielson was the trainer. And at that point in my life, I was in the service industry. I was going nowhere. And I was like, you know what? Everybody had always told me I was pretty entertaining. And I decided, do I want to be a big fish in a small town in a small place in Connecticut, or do I want to give this a shot? And then my ass ended up joining the school, and the rest is history. Not always great history, but the rest is history.
Oh my God.
That's awesome.
How was your training with Daniel Bryan?
So it's one of those things where most things in life, you get what you put into it. And Brian is a very driven individual who focuses very much on his art. And I was very lackadaisical slacker. I would have to drive 3 hours to get to the school from Connecticut, and I'd crash on my buddy's couch for a few days. But at that point, like, I'm not very athletic. I lift weights now and I try to be athletic, but at the time I was very far away from athletic. At least I was a pretty boy. I had hair and I was lean. So I'm coming from Brian's background, though. He pretty much had us do half of what the New Japan Dojo workout was. So you'd have to do like 500 Hindu squats to start instead of 1,000. Still a pain in the ass if you've never really done squats in your entire life. Lion push-ups, run the ropes. I remember when we first started, it took about 2 hours just to do the opening workout. Over time, that opening workout 30 minutes, but I mean,
He's breaking up
A little bit.
slow motion. Folks, we're having some technical difficulties. Justin Clapper's on. That's okay, Cal. You're back, brother. You're back.
There we go.
Fantastic. Basically, it was like going in the military and trying to do basic training with no training whatsoever to start or preparation. I sucked. I failed. I was not good at it. I didn't put a lot of work into it because I couldn't put a lot of effort into it. And in retrospect, it took forever for me to complete my training. And then when I became a wrestler, I relied just on personality. I was never super athletic. I wasn't flippy. I was just kind of a dick, which I was really good at. So that paid off. And I remember at one point when I became a broadcaster, Adam Pearce, who you see on WWE programming now, was the booker for Ring of Honor at the time. And he said, Kyle, you're the shits in the ring, but you're entertaining and you could talk. And he goes, so I want to make you a broadcaster. And I remember I was really torn about that. And I'm like, I don't know, because it's kind of like the thing you want being told you aren't good at. But then it turns out you might be good at another aspect of it. And eventually, it came to be that. And, knock on wood, 10 years later, I'm still doing broadcasting, but this time with the National Wrestling Alliance, who I used to wrestle with a decade ago. So it's full circle.
Dude, I was gonna ask you, man, how did you get into the broadcasting thing? And then the other thing, my other question was, or not even a question, it's like a statement, you know what I mean? When I saw you, I was like, man, you look so much like Adam Pearce. I was like, yo, I thought you guys were the same people at once. At one time, I was like, is then I had to look at it. I was like, no, they're not the same person.
You know, it's just the gift of being bald with facial hair. Depending on how heavy I am at any time and how my facial hair is cut, sometimes I look like old Bruce Willis if I shave everything off, which is just depressing because old Bruce Willis does not do it for me. Jason Statham when I'm in better shape. I get Cesaro every now and then, but I'm short.
Cesaro.
And I mean, I love Cesaro. He used to work with me in Ring of Honor. He was so freaking funny. Him and I had such good on-screen chemistry, which was pretty much him bullying me the entire time and me just looking sad and having funny ass remarks as he just criticized my clothing or rip my tie off and throw it on a truck or just insult me because I'm American. So it's one of those things where if you're bald and you have facial hair and you have like kind of a thick neck, you look like 1,000 people. Thankfully, it's good now because if this was like 1982 and I looked like I did, criminal, white supremacist, nothing positive. This look didn't have anything good going for it until about like 5 or 6 years ago, where people are like, "Oh, it's okay. White guys can shave their head and have facial hair and not look horrible too."
Thanks to Stone Cold. Stone Cold, Again, stealing appropriation of a look that other people had for decades before me. That was a cool look, and now we just got it. Nice.
Kyle, if I'm not mistaken,
did you freeze up or I freeze up?
You good, Joe?
Oh shit! Now I'm freezing up. Hello.
Am I freezing up?
No. You're good.
Damn. Okay, as long as it's not me.
Kyle, if I'm not mistaken, you were in the movie The Wrestler.
We filmed the movie The Wrestler. I was not in it because the day that we were all supposed to do our cameos, we waited around for like 10 hours and we filmed it in Dover, New Jersey at this cool little venue. It was all for the main event stuff. And they're pretty much like, all right, guys, you wait. We're going to use you in the background. You're going to be like the extras in a locker room scene. And it was on a Wednesday. New comic books come out on Wednesdays. So me being an avid comic book fan and also being incredibly irritable and hanging out there for like, I think we were there for 3 days at that point. It was a headache with a production team because they were expecting us to hurry up and wait. And I'm not used to that. Mm-hmm. So I, at one point was like, hey, I'm dragging my ass. I'm going to go buy comic books because at least I'll get some joy out of that. And the part that ended up in the movie for everybody that ended up waiting, I believe you see Bobby Dempsey in the background, who was an ROH graduate as well, pushing a broom. So literally, I missed nothing. Everybody waited around for like kind of a promise. Funny story about The Wrestler. I remember at the end of the filming of it, they had Mickey Rourke in the ring, and he's running the ropes half-assed, lackadaisical, and we're all annoyed by this point because also when you come up to the business, you do ring crew. So we were part of ring crew. So we were waiting for them to finish just taking photos to break down this ring to get our asses home. And at this point, we're watching this grown-ass man just half-ass things in the ring and not even care. And it was just kind of sad and funny. So we're kind of like chuckling about it. And you could see Mickey Rourke just get kind of like dejected. And I have this idea that actors are so used to everybody kissing their ass that you put them in a room full of wrestlers, and wrestlers are pretty much some of the people that won't kiss ass that much. So like I think he got bullied. I remember Roderick Strong bullying him at one point when he was in the chair with a chihuahua. So we're laughing at his performance and him just doing it. And one of the PAs kind of comes over and goes, gentlemen, Mr. Rourke right now is trying to film something. We're like, you're taking still photographs. So like, it's not like our audio is messing up anything. And I remember Grizzly Redwood, who is one of the most badass people I've ever met. And he's like 5'2" and just doesn't give a shit. Loudly proclaims, people laugh at me all the time. I learned to deal with it. And you just see Mickey Rourke kind of like look down, like, what the fuck have I gotten myself into? So that was a story. Marissa Tomei, very attractive in person, by the way.
Wow, nice. That's awesome. That's some good shit right there, man. Dude, yeah. What else? I got a question for you, man. If you doing the broadcast for NWA. Now, tell the viewers what's the difference between color commentator and the what do you call it? Play calling. Call it whatever.
So one day I'm hoping I had very little experience in the brand so far with commentary because I tend to work the podium and do the interview segments, but we had a sister program that we were working on called Circle Squared, and I got to do commentary for that. And pretty much color is personality, whereas play-by-play is you're calling the action in the ring. So if you're to close your eyes or listen to like a baseball game on the radio, that play-by-play is telling you everything that you can't witness in person. So if you're to close your eyes, the play-by-play is telling you what's happening in the ring. The color is giving more of a character personality to everything that's happening. That kind of paints the picture of, so it's more of the entertainment aspect of it. That's what I excel at. I'm a smart ass. I can throw out little comments here and there. But when it comes to calling things on the fly and doing it, there's a certain art form to that. Because again, there's a cadence that you have to kind of not speak over what's happening, but just kind of add to it to give people more of an information drop of what's going on.
Nice.
How important is that in the wrestling world? I mean, how important is this commentating, color, play-by-play, all of that? Is it really important when it comes to telling a story, or should the wrestlers tell the story in the ring also? I mean,
so it's a little bit different. So if you go to a live show, there's no commentary going on. That is when the wrestlers are telling the story in the ring, and you should always tell a story in the ring. But with TV, it's a different beast altogether, and you are literally trying to help embellish the story that the athletes in the ring are trying to tell. It adds a little bit more to it, because if you sit there and you're just trying to get through 2 hours of just pure athleticism, that's fantastic. But sometimes you need a little bit of pizzazz on there. There might be a story that's being driven. There might be a history that the audience at home is unaware of, because maybe they're just turning into the first time. The commentary gets you more in line with the entire narrative that the program is trying to tell. Okay. So I think that's pretty important. It's the spice. It's like having a plain chicken breast, but then maybe you want to throw some lemon pepper on that shit. Commentary is the lemon pepper. It flavors things up. Can you tell I'm hungry? I really want to go
eat. We'll hurry up.
You're golden. Don't worry. I'm here for you.
Good.
Kyle,
we got some guys watching.
Oh,
hold on, Andrew. Chris.
What we got?
We got Chris Hume over there from England. He's watching. We got Ida Nano.
Nice.
We got Ida Nano from I think that's Dubai. She's watching. Cody.
Nice.
International.
Nice.
Yes. Roosevelt. That would be Mr. Everything. That would be Mr. Everything.
You know what I like about this?
Everything.
I appreciate that this is international, because it's very easy to forget that the small part of the world that I live in is just all I ever really get to experience at this point, especially with COVID going on. And there's a whole nother world out there. So it's good to see that you're getting exposure across barriers and borders.
That's why I like going live, man. It's awesome. You know, perfect. Love it. Go ahead, Drew.
Kyle, can you explain the idea of the internet millionaire gimmick you had?
Oh, so when I used to wrestle, that was 2008, 9-ish. And that was right when YouTube was first becoming a thing. And I had a gimmick where I was a smug young guy who was supposed to be independently wealthy. And I referred to it as the internet millionaire, Kyle Durden. And my premise was that I made a buttload of money on a company that, because of copyrights, I'm not allowed to say. But if we were to go into it, let me tell you, those girls were not only hotter and wilder than what you experienced, but they were big. Anyway, moving on. So my entire premise was, at the time, the dude that ran Girls Gone Wild, Joe something. I can't remember his name. But the dude was a real douchebag. Like, he was real punchy. Okay. And I was a heel, and I thought if I made like little videos of everywhere we traveled and I posted those online, like there was one where we were in Chicago and we were right near a hospital. So a helicopter landed on a helipad. And I was like, I could make this shit look like I could film right next to it. Like I just got off the helicopter. So I'd cut a promo about that. We'd be in a shitty venue somewhere and I'd be like, this kind of looks like Mexico. Bam, I'm in Mexico City now. I'd film all these little vignettes about that. And the premise was I was the internet millionaire, Kyle Durden, living the life. Better than you. It's funny because looking back, I used to wear like scarves and shit like that. I had really douchey facial hair, dress shirts and stuff. I look at it, and MJF, a man like spirit.
Yeah.
Like I found a picture of me and Dave Marquez when I used to work NWA Liberty States over a decade ago, and I swear, like maybe that's why I'm such a big fan of MJF, because I'm like, oh my god, this is what I could have been if I was talented. but say la vie. That was the gimmick. I ran.
Maybe he stole it. Maybe he stole your gimmick, man. Maybe he stole it.
No way. No way. That kid just realized what it was like to be a dick to people and ran with it. And it just so happens like minds. But I had a group called the Players Club in the NWA with Danny DeMano and Eric Andretti and Justin Carino, who ended up being one half of the new, what the hell were they? Oh shit. Not the Midnight Express. Fuck, I can't remember the name. Guys, don't drink. You'll forget things sometimes. But I had this group there, and it was pretty cool. That was part of my internet millionaire. Is I was just like other assholes. It was
fun. Nice. What do you think about it? What do you think about Ring of Honor now versus back then? And do you think it's competition with the NWA power now?
So NWA is its own entity. We're not doing like huge buildings or venues. It's a studio show. It's a throwback to how things used to be. So we're not really in competition with anybody. We're our own little entity of the wrestling business there. Ring of Honor, I don't follow it as much as I used to. It's been a long time. In fact, the only person in my friend group that's still there is Rhett Titus, killing it. As part of the foundation there, Rhett's doing great. I'm just happy to finally see him doing successful things. It's been very, very long time since he was with Kenny King as the All Night Express there. But Ring of Honor, it's crazy that they made it this long. When I was a part of the brand, it was always on the cusp of shutting down. And then Sinclair Broadcasting bought it right after I left, which as they were trying to make their company kind of be more profitable on paper, so someone would purchase it. I was part of like the last hurrah in the HD net era when we first got TV. And it's just crazy to me to think that Ring of Honor is going on 20 years now. Wow. WCW lasted 13 years, I want to say 13 years tops. To think that I was a part of a brand that's now lasted longer than a brand that I grew up with. Same thing with ECW. Like growing up, ECW and WCW were my shit. WCW had the amazing international athletes and had the NWO. ECW had everybody that was cool before you knew about them when they got signed by another brand. And it was just one of those things where to think that I was a part of a history of something that's outlived two other things that I, in my head, could never be equal. It's mind blowing.
That is.
Yeah, dude.
That is.
Do you think Zack Ryder may have stolen your gimmick some with the Internet Millionaire?
No, the internet was a thing at the time. And it was just starting to go in there. And it's funny because when you're coming up in the business, you're always told to ask the people that have been there before you advice and to just really respect your elders. Just get as much information as you can. And I remember we were in an ROH show and Lance Storm was there. We ran a show in Canada, and I remember being like, Lance Storm, big Lance Storm fan. Loved him in ECW, loved him when he went to WCW and had the Team Canada thing and won all the belts and everything. That was cool. So I pitched him. I said, hey, I just wanted to get your advice about something. I've been using the internet and posting these videos. I have this Internet Millionaire character. What do you think? And Lance goes, yeah, I think that's kind of a waste of time. I don't think that's going to go anywhere. I think you should focus on the wrestling. And then fast forward, and you got BTE, you got the Young Bucks who made an entire livelihood of pushing a program online. So it's funny. I was ahead of my time, but I didn't have the confidence or the ability to push it hard. And instead of focusing on that and going with it, when I lost my ROH gig because the company was getting sold and we lost HDNet TV program, and then when I lost the Tough Enough thing in the span of another month, I just got so dejected that I just kind of took my ball and went home because I was stupid and ignorant. And I said, if I'm not doing things at this level, why would I do it here? The only problem is you give it 6 months to a year. And if you're not doing it here, nobody knows you exist anymore. So I pretty much took myself out of any possibility of growth. And then thankfully, a decade went by and I had some friends in the business and they said, hey, Billy Corgan's buying the NWA. Would you like to be a part of it? I said, yes, please. And they said, good, because I already told them you would.
I got a question also. Not you done brought Billy into it, because I remember seeing Billy at ECW. I never talked to him, but I just saw him, when he talked to Paul and Tom.
Played Steve Carino to the ring at a pay-per-view, if I remember right.
Yeah, exactly. So how was it working for him? And then my other part is, to the young wrestlers out there listening, watching now, how can they get into NWA power? How can they catch the eye of Mr. Billy Corgan?
So working for Billy Corgan is just like working for anybody else, except this one happens to be an eccentric millionaire rock star that I grew up listening to the music of. And it's just, he's got a vision. Everybody might not realize this, but Billy's a huge wrestling fan. He grew up on wrestling and the NWA brand. And so when it came time for him to have an opportunity, he tried to buy TNA and there was some shenanigans on that. And so when he found out NWA was up for option there, people were like, oh, it's just a lineage and a championship and a name. Like, why would you want that? And he's basically wanted it because it's what he grew up. It's what he knew, and he felt he could turn it into something. And so when I first met him, I remember always thinking, kind of act like you've been here before. And also, he's just a guy. And they gave me an opportunity. The first thing I did with the brand was I got to host it was when they had the hair versus hair match with David Arquette, which we got some press for. I got to host the press conference for that. And then once we started doing NWA Power, I started doing things for that, and it just built up. But Billy's just a guy. He loves wrestling and he has a vision for the brand. And, we go along with that vision, and it's worked so far. It's really upsetting and selfish to think this way, but we were supposed to have this major pay-per-view. We had an arena. It was going to be coming up, the Crockett Cup. And then, we did the press conference for that. Everything was on the horizon. We were building and building and building. The TV show was doing great. And then, COVID hit, and now we're still kind of starting a little bit at square one, building up the brand again after people hadn't seen it for a year. So it's it's kind of upsetting about that. As far as people finding their way into NWA, it's like anything else. You reach out. Pat Kenny is our talent relations. Simon Diamond, who I used to watch. I almost always have to be like. Yeah, I always want to. I think I told him this, that I used to be a big fan of him when he had Dick, which was a giant. He had giant muscle, and he would refer to his dick all the time. He'd like, my dick is huge. My dick is vascular. And so I always want to just walk by him and start talking about my dick, but I don't think it's the right thing to do in the workplace. So he's the one right now that's head of talent, and he kind of sees an eye for things and stuff like that. So if he sees something or you reach out to him, that could be the way of getting there. But the entire premise of the sister program we had before COVID hit with that Circle Squared was to get unsigned talent to appear on camera, and then the fans could vote on who they wanted to see progress in the brand. So we were building all that. Again, COVID shut so much stuff down. It's not until our upcoming tapings, as well as Our Shadows Fall pay-per-view, which is on June 6th, that we're going to start having an audience again. A small audience for the venue, but it's a start. And then I'm hoping the next pay-per-view we have after will be somewhere else. Because let me tell you, that Crockett Cup was going to be awesome, and it was down the street from my house in Atlanta, so it was going to be a very easy commute for me.
Wow. Okay, good. So if I'm a wrestler, if I'm a young talent, do I pack my suitcase and I just go sit outside the where the studio is? Where? Okay. I don't do that.
So if you're a young wrestler, the thing that we were always told is always have your gear with you because you never know what it's going to be. Offer to help out in the program. Reach out to shows. Ask to help out. Get your name out there. If somebody has 15 people that are trying to contact them, but then one dude shows up and is willing just to help out at the show, maybe do ring crew or be there whenever they need them, that person's going to stand out more than anybody else. The issue is in the modern day, and thankfully I think we're almost at the cusp, but with COVID, you can't have random people anywhere either. Yeah. So like AEW, when AEW ran in Atlanta, I got to hang out with a bunch of my friends backstage and chill and say hi to people and things like that. When I was just chilling in Florida, relaxing, I went to an AEW show. And because I wasn't part of the COVID protocols there, I just had to chill like a normal fan. I mean, there was only so much you could do, and people are just playing it safe. So in the past and in the future, reach out, offer to help. Don't expect anything, and then hopefully you'll get your name out there to do things. Also, have a reel, have stuff online that you could just send people, links to stuff. Have good promo photos. Social media is another thing. Like if you're not willing to promote something that you're involved in, why is anybody willing to promote you? You have to help them. Help you adage works out great. Also, speaking of social media, as you've seen a lot in society, you have to realize that if you're trying to build a career in any aspect, in any way, shape, or form, especially the wrestling business, this is a public forum of which people can now go back and see who you are as a representative of yourself. And if they don't like who that representative of yourself is, they're not going to want you to represent their brand. Now, thankfully, I'm not a horrible person, so I don't think there's a lot of horrible things that there is, but I know people in this business in the last year and a half who I was a fan of, that all of a sudden somebody pointed out a bunch of other shit that used to happen. And I'm like, oh, and it changes the way I feel of them. I've got t-shirts that I used to wear that I'm like, oh, is this me representing something that people are going to be like, oh, Kyle must be a problem because that person's a problem.
Okay. All right.
Shit just got real.
Yeah. I see it. Hey, Andrew, do you see that question from Roosevelt, Andrew?
Yes, I do.
You see that?
Yeah,
And
he asked,
says, go ahead.
Is there any contact info for Simon Diamond or Circle Square?
So for Pat Kenny, Simon Diamond, I don't know if he just wants to be giving out a cell phone or anything like that. So hit him up on Twitter.
Wait, Cal. Simon Diamond is there too?
He's our talent relations. He's Pat Kenny.
What? Oh, my man, Pat. Oh no.
He gave me some of the best advice I've ever had, which was before he just started helping out the company right before that. And he goes, hey Kyle, come here for a second. And he goes, you always look so serious when you're walking around. And I said, oh, I'm just focused. He goes, you should smile. And he goes, you want to know why you should smile? Because this industry is ridiculous and we should all appreciate it for what it is. It's stupid. We get paid for doing things that we enjoy and that we're a fan of. Smile, because this is something that we shouldn't be worried about or taken too seriously. We should appreciate what we have. So every time I see him, I'm going to smile on my face because I remember that this industry was something that I've always loved. And to be a part of it, I'm happy to be a part of it.
That's awesome.
Nice. He wrote me when I was in the military. Him and Dawn Marie, man. He wrote me a letter when I was in boot camp. So Simon Diamond's always been a good guy, man. And even Mike Ducey, with Simon Diamond, all those guys, ECW guys are great guys. So yeah, if you're listening to this, if you're a young wrestler and you want to try to get into the NWA, any of these companies, listen to Mr. Cal Davis. He has some great advice for you.
Also, another thing growing up, and I didn't take this to my advantage. I mean, you think about it. I used to work with Seth Rollins, Cesaro, Kevin Steen, who's now Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, who maybe possibly used to be a Mexican under a mask that was very generic. Trained by Daniel Bryan, like Roderick. I used to be involved with so many people, and I kind of took that for granted that we see each other all the time, and then people change careers or they move on, they go to other brands and things change. Like networking is one of the biggest things you can do when you're at shows. Make yourself known, get to know people. Don't think that you're too cool for the room. One of the things when I broke in, it was just slightly changing, but I think it's gotten a lot better now, is people would be like, oh, you're a mark if you want to take a photo with somebody. I am a giant Shane Douglas fan. I used to use a belly to belly as my finisher in wrestling. Wow. And I worked an NWA show in the middle of nowhere, and he was on the card, and I was in the locker room with him, and I barely said a word to him except for hello and shook his hand. And because I didn't want to be a fanboy. I regret that shit to this day. I should have been a fanboy. My third match was against Raven in a tag match. I was a huge Raven fan. I didn't fanboy. But it's little things where, who knows? I had all these people that I made sure I kept at a distance because I didn't want them to think that I was trying to be too friendly. When the fact of the matter is, we're in the stupid fraternity of guys that wear spandex and hit each other for a living and travel. It's a ridiculous career. But we're all in it together and we can all relate to it together. And if you don't go out of your way to make sure that everybody knows that you want to be a part of this life with them, they're going to think you're either standoffish or an asshole. And then opportunities might not be there down the road. It's like anything else. I wanted to go to broadcasting school at one point, and I was told, you already have exposure. I'm sorry, my dogs are barking at some random thing outside. I was told you already have the exposure, you already have experience. All you're going to get is a piece of paper. That doesn't mean shit. It's kind of like that. If you know people, they are going to remember you when an opportunity arises. It's like, I know somebody that can already do this. I know somebody that I had work experience with that I enjoyed being around. I want that type of person in my locker room. It's all networking. Of course, be able to do that job when you get it. But at the end of the day, one of the most important aspects that nobody tells you about is being known in the networking aspect of it. Build friendships, build a resume, build all these things. Because at the end of the day, it's the only way you're going to get known, unless you do some really dumb stuff online and you end up being on a GIF or like a cool Twitter thing. But at the end of the day, there's so much of that cool shit people are going to forget about it a week later. I saw some dude get his groin lit on fire the other day, get hit with a weed whacker,
Oh yeah,
and then he couldn't get his spandex off.
Yeah,
but like a decade ago, I'd be like, holy shit, you guys remember that guy? That was like a Tuesday randomly. Somebody did something else just as absurd 10 minutes after that, and it's forgotten.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Speaking of which, second degree burns on your groin aren't worth for like 10 seconds of notoriety.
Not happening.
Imagine explaining that. You take off your pants at one point and you're with, whatever you're into, be it your girlfriend, your boyfriend, whatever life makes you happy. You take off your pants and they look at you and you have burned genitals. And they're like, what happened? No. And you're like, that was a spot in a match and I got weed whacker. They're gonna be like, bullshit, this person's got an STD and they're trying to pretend it was some stupid thing they did in wrestling.
No doubt.
So remember, don't mess up your genitals. It's one of the few things in life that's gonna bring you joy.
No doubt. The rats, man, they're not gonna flock to you, man, after the matches. Well, I don't know if you guys rats now.
I was gonna say that's a different. Shelly, you're talking about basically you're dating yourself here. and that's how you could tell you were a part of ECW is that you're talking about rats. The business has changed. We're all in great relationships for the most part. And, instead of going out there and doing drugs and dumb stuff, we're just talking about video games in a locker room or the last thing that's streamed.
I miss those days, man.
I am much happy to have the relationship I have and not worry about dumb things like that anymore. When I was younger, I really thought that being in the wrestling industry, you had to have like a girlfriend in every town. And like I said, I was a super obnoxious pretty boy, so it was pretty easy to do. I was a real piece of garbage. And it's in retrospect, I realized, I've grown a lot as a human being. And my fun is not needed from the emotional equivalent I get from strangers feeling like that I gave them a little bit of fun one night. Not knocking it. That works for somebody. But if I was single at the time and being a piece of garbage, that'd have been a different question. But I was not. I was a real piece of shit.
Oh, man.
And I feel bad about that. That's my biggest regrets in life. But anyway, like I said, I'm an open book. You can ask anything you want.
Good shit, man. That's awesome. Go ahead, Drew.
Kyle, if somebody had never watched the NWA Power before, but they have seen wrestling before, how would you explain the difference between NWA Power versus other wrestling on TV today to them?
It's content over flash. So we don't have the crazy lights. We don't have the pyro. We don't have like amazing theme songs that you've heard before when people are coming to the ring. We are an old school throwback to a generation that has passed with a little flavor of modern day talent in there. We are pretty much, if you are of an age group where you remember what wrestling used to be, we are a happy segue between the current product and what you remember. We're a happy medium that is a blast from the past.
Nice.
That's not to say that cool shit doesn't happen. We got Slice Boogie right there. I mean, I love Slice Boogie, and he is pretty much the modern equivalent of an 80s badass. So I dig him. Same thing with Trevor Murdoch. Trevor Murdoch,
I saw Trevor Murdoch.
Yeah. And right now he's going to be going for the NWA World's Heavyweight title at the pay-per-view
on
June 6th.
Yeah, good luck. Good luck. Yeah.
And Nick is such a pleasant individual to me online, heavy sarcasm, that I can't help but think that maybe if our champion was someone else, I would be treated a little bit nicer. And big
up to the Black Pope. You know what I mean?
Pope is great. In fact, that's what I tweeted the other day when Nick Aldis was shitting on me online. I said, you know what? I am very happy to share TV time whenever the champ wants to. And the Pope is amazing, and I'm happy to have him at the podium. I got to bring back that white NWA title too. That's a crisp doubt.
Cal, how can NWA, or let me rephrase that. What does NWA have to do to get into that upper echelon of, WWE, AEW, so is AEW, is NWA third, or is it Ring of Honor, or is it Impact, or is it New Japan Wrestling?
We are our own entity, and I don't even like comparing us to any of that stuff, because if I do, you're going to look at this grandiose stage show and you're going to look at us and be like, well, that just doesn't look the same. How can initially, I think fans, it's very easy to be like I've got this tasty little hard seltzer here that's not sweet enough for me, but that's beside the point. But if I had this and then I had this massive ass display next to me, you're going to look at that massive ass display no matter if this is tasty or not, because it's easier to look at the bigger thing that's got more sound, more pizzazz and everything. And those are all amazing brands. We're our own brand, we're our own entity, we have our own little corner of the market. The thing that is most important to growing anything is fans and people wanting to follow you. And what we do is we cater to a certain group of fans and we build upon that. We have cross promotion with AEW, with Thunder Rosa there. Also, our women's champion's been there. Unfortunately, when COVID hit, we lost so much talent when we were shut down and contracts ended that, some of my favorite people to work with ended up in AEW or other brands. Yeah. And it's one of those things where we aren't them. We don't compare ourselves to them. We're our own entity. And the key to building is just have a fan base and consistency. Consistency is another thing that you need to build upon. If people constantly get entertainment value from you, then they will continue to support you. And then they will tell that to their friends. And then their friends will build upon that. We are lucky enough to have a brand that has a history involved with it that goes back decades. Yeah. And there's a lot of stuff where that brand is a semblance of something in somebody's childhood. We all really love the things that were there when we were younger. It's why everything comes back. Retro's huge now. You keep on seeing movies remade of 1990s stuff, which scares the shit out of me because that means that when I was a teenager, now that's considered retro and hip again. We're getting older. Again, appreciate your youth when your back doesn't hurt. But the thing about it is that that ends up being where the parents the parents now were kids then. Those parents will now tell their kids about it and be like, hey, check out this thing I used to love. And then it builds upon that. We need to be consistent. We need to cater to our audience, and we need to not pretend we're something we're not.
Sir. Kyle, we have
good answer.
Sal Renaro in the comments.
That's Sal in the house. Oh, Sal!
Sweetness. Sal Renaro, your favorite wrestler's favorite wrestler. And if you don't know what that means, it means that everybody you enjoy on television right now has had some experience with Sal Renaro and knows that he is an amazing human being, entertaining as all hell, and somebody you want to be around at any time. And thankfully, I'm blessed with his friendship. I met him back in Ring of Honor when we were a lot younger and not as cool, but younger. And luckily, NWA has allowed us to rekindle it because that's another person who I always thought was cool, but I didn't really develop a friendship with. And now nothing brings me more joy than interacting with Sal on any basis. We text. I get to see him every now and then. And he is a kick-ass human being, too. That's another thing. Some of your favorite wrestlers might be really shitty people. Sal Renaro, not a shitty person.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Yes, he is.
Cool, really cool. I really like him. So that's good shit. I had the pleasure of being in OVW back in 2005. With the class of Aaron Stevens and Nick Nimitz, and all those guys, Bobby Lashley. Aaron Stevens is one of the coolest guys that you ever want to know.
I agree with you.
Dude is cool as shit.
I was a big fan of him when he was Damian Sandow. I just really liked that gimmick. I remember I think either Cesaro or Pierce, or maybe it was Seth, got me tickets to a Raw, and it happened to be the one where he was the Money in the Bank winner and he cashed it in against Cena. My wife was like, oh my God, John Cena, he's hot. And I'm like, ooh, Damian Sandow, I like him. And then when he started working with us, he was just super down to earth, personable, easy to talk to, really loves having input and working with you on things like that, has amazing stories to tell. And I remember recently, when you're a fan of somebody and somebody shows an appreciation for you, there's very much nothing like it. And we had one of the shows, and Tyrus is with us right now. And Tyrus has this thing where he's fascinated with my head. And his hand is massive and it fits my head perfectly. And so his hand always feels like it's on my head now, crushing ever so gently to remind me that any minute they could dig into my skull. And we were doing something and he was applying pressure. And as he was talking, and as somebody else was also talking, I believe the Pope was talking to him, he got agitated. I could feel the pressure just squeezing on my head. And I was just like kind of reacting to it and not losing my composure. But you could see things were happening. And after that, it's like anything else. If you commit to something, someone will notice. And Stevens came up to me afterwards and he goes, hey, we were in the locker room. We were watching that. He goes, I loved it. It was a throwback to things. He told me, I always liked you as a person, but now I'm a fan of you as a talent. And that just was one of the biggest compliments I've ever been given, is having somebody that I was entertained by saying he was entertained by me. So, and all I had to do was just react to what was around me.
Dude, that's great, man. Do you own a Sal Pal by any chance, Kyle?
I do not, because every now and then I get to actually hug the real Salmonaro. I do have a Salmonaro. I have the power shirt upstairs. And the other thing is I have 2 dogs that if they got a hold of that Sal Pal would probably rip it apart. Oh. They're really nice to him when he's at the house, but they have a thing with stuffed animals and small things that, I don't trust it. It won't last. And I want my Sal to last.
You need your own.
We all do.
You need your own cow.
Oh.
So my concern with that is that I definitely appeal to a certain demographic, and most of the content I get and the fans that I have are into. I don't think I'm a bear. I'm not that hairy, but apparently people love the way I look at certain demographics. So I'm worried that if there was a stuffed animal of me, it would just be treated very, very sexualized. Which is good. I mean, like, hey, it's good to be wanted.
You need to have your own, brother. I'm pitching that, yo. Kyle, you need to have your own. You need to have your own.
The whole thing is like I'm a relax. It's okay. It's the male person.
See, even the dogs agree. They agree. Right on cue, bro. Right on cue.
I tell you, these they're just trying to protect their home. I mean, at the end of the day, these dogs have such a good life that they're worried that anything that could take that life away from them, they just need to react on. So, hey, you're adorable. You don't need to vocalize. Sorry, real life.
Brother.
Kyle, we all know pro wrestling is a hard business to be in. Do you have any advice for professional wrestlers or anybody in the pro wrestling business today that are going through hard times, depression, suicidal thoughts, anxiety, any of that stuff, man? Do you have any advice for people that are going through that stuff?
Hold on, we're going to go for a little walk while we're doing this, because this way at least the dogs won't be there. But I think mental health is something that not only in our business, but throughout the world really needs to be spoken about. Mm-hmm. I mean, I get depressed at times, and frankly, I mean, whatever, I'm an open book here. The most positive thing I discovered about 3 or 4 years ago was edibles. It's really helped balance me out in my anxiety and things like that. If you're going through a rough patch, you got to remember, everybody does. And social media and everything else is such a problem because we all portray the best versions of ourselves on it. And as everybody's looking to somebody that they respect to be like, hey, they have this amazing life and maybe mine doesn't relate to that and can't live up to it. Mm-hmm. Because again, we all go through periods, and what you see online and what you hear isn't always real. Some people go through things constantly and just hide it. The most important thing is to be open and honest and then talk to people. If you keep everything to yourself, there's no chance of anybody being there to tell you like, hey, it's relatable. There's other people out there. And this business is really hard. It's a business based off of illusions. We portray things and we carry ourselves in a manner to get people to like us more. And because that's how we make a livelihood. And that's one of the real things, is that we have to pretend to ourselves, to pretend to the fans, for them to buy into who we want them to think we are. And it's easy to get trapped in that. When you're in a business where you're playing a part, like soap opera actors, for example, or let's say normal actors, normal actors usually aren't doing the physicality that pro wrestlers are. They're playing a part and they play it for a certain time and then they move on and then they do something else. Mm-hmm. At no point when they're doing interviews is, I can't even think of an actor. Let's just say The Rock. When The Rock's doing an interview, he's not doing an interview as the Scorpion King or the dude from Too Fast, Too Furious. He's doing it as Dwayne Johnson. He's talking about how the fact that this is what he does for a living. He has a separation from who you see on the screen on a daily basis. Wrestlers, for the most part, don't have that separation. We are, when you're talking to us, in care, and it's easy to get in that, much you're 7. People will associate with you if they feel like they can talk to you and be represented by you. If you are a normal human I'm sure people look at this and be like, wow, it's a different world. I mean, again, I'm talking about the United States because that's where I live. That's the personal stuff I know. But anybody in this business just needs to realize that it's going to be tough. You're going to be traveling. You're going to be pushing. You're an independent contractor. You don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. That brings a lot of stress, not knowing what your next day is going to be and feeling that you need to hustle to be a success. So it's always good to also realize, and fans out there, most wrestlers, unless they're on WWE, they have other jobs. They're doing other things.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with that. There's no shame with seeing somebody like Too Cold Scorpio being a security guard somewhere, because I remember one day I bumped into him. People got to make a living. We all have bills. We all need to get through the day. Appreciate the entertainment value that you can give somebody, and don't be ashamed at whatever it takes to live your life otherwise.
Right. Yeah, that's just like the guy with that was on the Cosby. You know what I mean? I can't remember his name, but he was he was like the boyfriend or the husband. The Huxtable.
Somebody he was bagging groceries. He was bagging groceries. There is no shame in doing any job in this life. We all have to work for a living and pay our bills. Whatever you need to do, just realize that there's nothing wrong with it. There's plumbers, there's dentists, there's police, there's scientists, there's people that do amazing things on a daily basis. And then there's people that do an amazing thing on a daily basis that get no respect. Like everybody realized during COVID how much they loved going out to eat. Well, don't shit on the service industry. There's nothing wrong with being a server or a bartender or a gas station attendant. You are helping somebody have an escape from a small portion of their day and giving them something that they would have to do themselves. There is nothing wrong with that. And there should be no shame. And I think we need to actually, normalize people not being asked when they're a kid, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? I think we should normalize, what type of person do you want to be when you grow up?
Nice. Yeah, that's how it was when ECW folded. I saw the writing on the wall. I went to the military. It was, I needed a job, so that's where I went. And, I could have stayed out and tried to do the wrestling thing, but I'm happy that I went that route. You know what I mean? So
one of the biggest things that you're always kind of hear is like, find something you're passionate about and get paid to do it. But I think what we also need to bring up is like, there's nothing wrong with doing something you're not passionate about. So you can actually afford to do the thing you're passionate about on the side to keep you safe. Have friendships, have relationships with people. If you're really into something stupid, enjoy the hell out of that. Don't let somebody criticize you because you like anime or something. I can't get into it. I'm a comic book nerd. It means I don't like Star Wars or Star Trek, but there's all these little things that give us joy that once upon a time people would have shamed you for. As long as you're into something that's not hurting somebody, be it yourself or others, and isn't really messed up. Like if you like snuff films, I'm sorry, that's kind of messed up. That's fucked up. But if you're into something else that's doing no harm to anybody, awesome. Find the thing in life that brings you joy, act upon it, and then share that, because maybe that thing will give somebody else joy that's needing it at that given moment.
Awesome. Yes,
this is a wrestling podcast. This is a wrestling podcast.
We went social on this. We went social, so much social.
I'm just me. I can't help it.
I love it, man. I love it. No doubt.
Thank you for that important message for everybody. Where can people find you out on social media, man?
I have a super generic name, Kyle Davis. So the way to find it on Twitter is Kyle Davis ATL. Same thing with Instagram. Facebook, I try to keep to people I know. I kind of accepted everybody in there when NWA started. And then it turned out that a lot of people don't think like I do. And when I start seeing stuff on my feed where I'm just like, ooh, that's short-sighted, and that person might not have traveled that much in the world. It makes me realize, like, I'm a human being. I want people to either like me and follow me for who I am, but not who they think I am. So if you're digging this, by all means, send me a friend request, hit me up. But if follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Kyle Davis ATL. You can also watch us on the Fight app. Anytime. It's $4.95 a month to subscribe to NWA there, but we do drop new episodes of NWA Power at 6:05 Eastern. That's standard time, depending on where you are in the world. Just do the math, +5, +4, +3, whatever it is. You know the deal. And I just hope we can give somebody a little bit of joy and escape from whatever's ailing them at any given time.
Nice.
Awesome, man.
We appreciate that, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate your time, though.
For real.
I mean, really.
No problem whatsoever. I got the day off. I'm loving it.
Before you go, the Fight TV thing, man, what is up with that? Because I'm just learning about that.
So the Fight app used to be called something else. I can't remember the name of it, but it's like anything else now. There's a streaming service. It's got all sorts of sports on there, fights, pro wrestling.
Okay.
If you're a smaller company, you might see it on there. And some stuff's for free. Otherwise, you subscribe and get extra content. For us, NWA Power's on there. As I said, it was $4.95 a month, I believe. And that gives you access to an entire back catalog. We've got pay-per-views on there. We've got the first several seasons of NWA Power and then the new episodes as well. It's just something where if you're a fan of it and we're looking for content, there's so much content on the Fight app, not just us, that you can hopefully support another brand that needs your support to build and grow.
Dude, that's awesome, man.
Cool.
Kyle, thank you again for your time, man.
No problem whatsoever. I'm happy to be a part of it.
Thank you, Kyle.
Prove that I exist outside of my home.
And this interview was better than the other one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we
fantastic. Did we
that
drop the bomb on this? That this is version 2? That like a month ago I was at the beach and something happened.
This is version 2. People don't know. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, it got destroyed. So this is even better because we went live. So
That's right.
we want to thank all our viewers for watching. You know
That's
what
right,
I mean?
man.
So that's a good thing. My one of my students, Romel, he chimed in. So
Nice.
he's here in the Philippines. He's up late. It's like 1:30 a.m. here in the Philippines.
Jeez.
So,
Wow.
he's up late. Oh yeah. That's how we do it here in the Philippines, you know. But I believe
You're living the life.
to,
Speaking of my old gimmick,
going to
you're
sleep.
living the life.
No, I saw your pictures on the beach, man, with you and your wife, and I said, "Oh, Cal is doing it, brother."
That was smart. My wife is very good about things, and she convinced her father to make an investment in a property and renovate it and spread it out as an Airbnb. So the nice thing about that is it pretty much pays for itself, and then every now and then we get to stay there. It's fantastic.
Nice. Good shit.
It really just makes you realize that it's hard to gain anything without having something to start upon. And thankfully, my father-in-law had something to start upon. But geez, I'm telling you, I have a life that I never expected, and it really comes down to just not trying to be a major star and just be a normal human being and focus on family and friends. And the next thing you know, eventually happiness will find you.